Hello, my love. Today I want to talk about boundaries. If you are someone who finds yourself saying yes when you really want to say no, more often than not, this video is for you. If you're someone who you feel like you communicate boundaries well, but then you fall short after the fact. So you don't stand firm on those boundaries. You let them walk over you again. You allow yourself to fall back into those people-pleasing ways. This video is for you. If you're someone who wants to start setting boundaries but doesn't really know how to start doing that, this video is for you. This video, I'm hoping that it gives you the tools to be able to start towards your boundary journey, whether you're in the beginning stages, you're in the middle, or it's something that you kind of worked on, but you feel like you need some more tweaking. I want to give you some tools as far as how to communicate the boundaries, what boundaries are, what they are not. I also want to talk about what to do if you spoke your boundary, but you feel like you spoke it in a kind of rude, not assertive way, where you came off the wrong way, like you just didn't communicate it right. I do want to talk about what you can do in those scenarios and how to tweak it and come into a more assertive and healthy approach to the boundaries. So this video will be broken up into about 4 parts, if I'm not mistaken. I first want you to know that there is a solution to boundaries. It's okay. It will require discomfort. But you can set and communicate boundaries well. It just takes a little bit of practice. The truth is, we can't control how people perceive us. There's a few things that we can do in the process. And I think one of them is, 1, figure out what your boundary is and how to communicate that effectively. That would be number 2, communicating it effectively. 3 is you could also say to yourself, okay, maybe I cannot control how they perceive this boundary, but I can in fact be responsive, or that's not even the right word I'm looking for. I can learn to accept the feedback or listen and hear the feedback that the person is giving, and also say, I'm not going to change my boundary. So what I mean by that is you can control the fact that they may react or have responses to your boundary, especially people who you've known for a long time and know you to be a certain way, and then now you're flipping on them. Some of them might freak out. But you can decide that I will hear them out and hear their feedback, but it doesn't mean that I have to change or move my boundary because of that. You're being respectful and hearing them out, but you could also give your perspective of, I'm not changing my boundary. This is my boundary, and you can decide to accept that, or maybe we won't be spending that much time together. That's why the key word is communication. A lot of us, we talk about setting these boundaries, but we don't communicate them well. We think just because we said it once that they're just going to get it. And that's where I lead into, I think this is number 4 when it comes to this. Number 4 would be making sure you understand that you will have to repeat yourself. You can't just set a boundary and change your ways and expect people right now to honor it. They should. The right people will. But I'm saying people who've been around a lot, like your family and things like that, they may require 1, 2, or 3 times. They may try again. I'm just being honest. And if there are people you want to keep in your life, you need to understand that will likely be something you have to communicate more than once. It may be that you set a boundary that I'm not communicating it more than a certain amount of times. But in general, just be prepared to have to repeat it more than once. And then lastly, understanding that you will have to keep repeating this process over and over again. The process will have to be repeated. You will set new boundaries. You will have to communicate them. You will maybe you decide to be open to feedback. Maybe you decide I'm not going to hear them out. I don't believe that's effective communication, but hearing them out and respecting it, even if you're not going to change your ways, I think is a great way of communication. Just being open to hearing the person you care about and say you love's perspective. Now, if it's someone you don't care about or love, that may be different. All of these things are going to require practice. And so we will talk about that after this next section. Right now, I want to dive in to what a boundary is not, what a boundary is, and also what to kind of look for if you need to know if you need to set better boundaries or you need to communicate them better. So that's what this will be talking about. What a boundary is not, it's not rude, it's not disrespectful, it's not manipulative, it's not selfish, not in the sense of, well, it is selfish in a sense because it's for yourself, but I don't want you to look at selfishness as a negative thing. I'm selfish about my self-care. I'm selfish about my personal time. I'm selfish about a lot of things when it comes to myself and having that alone time. But that isn't a bad thing. So don't always look at selfishness as a negative thing. I want you to look at it as it's for yourself. So it's okay. So that's what boundaries are not. It's not selfish in a negative way. Your boundaries don't mean control. They don't mean control. So don't think because you're setting boundaries that you're controlling someone. I believe it's the direct opposite of that. It's showing people how to respect you, how to treat you. Boundaries simply, they don't make you a bad person. What a boundary is, to me, I believe boundaries are a form of self-love. It's loving yourself. It's showing love toward yourself. It is freedom. Boundaries show other people. It guides other people on how to treat you, like I just said a few moments ago. Boundaries show and tell people that this is not what I want, or this is not what I will accept. This is not something that I will allow to steal my vibe, my energy, my time. Boundaries are literally boundaries. They're imaginary circle, and sometimes a physical circle. Sometimes it is an emotional one. Sometimes it is a energetic one. Sometimes it has to do with time. Boundaries changed my whole life, and they will change yours if you really learn to set them and honor them and don't see them as the villain. See them as a guide, as a healthy marker for you and other people to see how far they can go. You know, how far they can go, that they can't go farther than this, that they can't do this. It teaches people to respect you, to love you, to honor you. I don't know how to put it in any other way than that. But boundaries, there's so many ways and so many definitions to me of a boundary. And you can write, like, as a journal prompt, as a kind of action item, you could write that down. What do boundaries mean to me? What have they meant to me up until this point? And what do I want them to mean going forward? I think that's something good to consider or to reflect on, because you could see boundaries as a negative thing up until right now, and maybe after this video you'll see them as protection, as freedom, as self-love. Setting and communicating boundaries protects your space, protects your energy, protects your physical body, protects your time, protects your vibe. Will people be offended by your boundaries? Probably. Absolutely. There's people who are going to be pissed off. There's people who are going to respect them. There's people who are going to respond not the way you thought. And there's some people who you thought they would respond one way, but they're not going to respond that way. Just know that the people who are not actively wanting to accept your boundaries, they kind of fall under two areas in my brain. One is the person who always or never really wanted you to change. They were manipulating you. They wanted you to be the people pleaser. They wanted you to be at their beck and call. They wanted you to be there for them. And I think those individuals, you'll be able to sniff them out better when you start setting boundaries, when you start honoring yourself, respecting yourself. And then I think there's another group of people where it's not that they feel that way. It's that more that they're not used to the new you. It makes them uncomfortable that you're growing, or they just haven't reached the level of growth that you are. And that's where those individuals are the ones you'd want to spend the time repeating your boundaries to, because they're worth it. They're not the people who are purposely trying to hurt you. And I want you to understand that when it comes to boundaries, that not everybody is out to get you when it comes to boundaries. Like, overstepping your boundaries. They're not doing it on purpose. It's just that you have to teach them how to treat you. They don't know. They're used to you being a certain way. And I keep speaking this and saying this, repeating it, just in case you don't catch me throughout the video, that I don't want you to give up on people who you've known for a long time that may or may not, they just might be stuck in that. They may just not see that new you yet. But also be aware of the people who have been taking advantage of you all this time, and act accordingly. Something I wrote in my notes that I want to say is, changing and growing can make other people just as uncomfortable as you feel. Like, you feel uncomfortable talking about boundaries. There's some people who feel uncomfortable when you set your boundaries, and it's not because they're mad at you. Some of them they could be, but a lot of them it's because they haven't gotten to that point yet. They're not on the same level of healing or awareness as you. And so just be aware of that. And honestly, this is why some people end up getting new groups of friends and spending more time with different people, even after being friends with people for years or decades. It's because if you're growing and evolving and people aren't doing that with you, it's hard sometimes to relate to the individuals when they don't raise their lid with you. So that's another thing to be aware of when you start to set boundaries, is that you might actually decrease your friend circle, or you might obtain new friends, and be okay with that. Be okay with the fact that seasons flow, that there are relationships that are meant to last forever, and there's some of them that are just there for a season, and be okay with that. And that's where detachment comes in. I know I haven't been online or on YouTube in months, but my last video I talked about detachment and I think magnetism. Be aware of that. Like, detachment is cool. Like, it's okay to detach from outcomes and understand that if it's for me, it's for me. If they're for me, they're for me. Some ways to tell if you need better boundaries. Right off the back, I think of if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel like you're constantly, like I said earlier, but chronically saying yes to things you really mean no to. If you feel resentment towards yourself, towards other people, towards your work, just towards whatever it is, reflect on it and think on it, because it could be an area where you need to set better boundaries. It may be taking up too much of your space, your time, and your energy, and draining your life force, draining your vibe, draining all the energy within you. If you are someone who is constantly people pleasing, if you constantly people please, you probably need better boundaries, or you need to at least get better at communicating those boundaries. If you're someone who neglects, forgets, puts your self-care, yourself behind others, so you're people pleasing, this is part of people pleasing, but I wanted to mention this one because women do this a lot, especially moms, I noticed. Putting others before yourself. If you're constantly doing that and not making time for yourself, you probably need better boundaries. If you're someone where when you're in your relationship, your spouse, your significant other, if you're constantly bending over backwards for them, doing everything for them, not doing for yourself at all, not saying that you have to do for yourself 99% of the time, there's a balance. But if you're mostly giving to them and not giving to yourself, you need better boundaries. And it's important, especially if you're a mother or a parent figure in somebody's life, maybe even a teacher, or in that type of environment. It's important that you do this because people are watching you. Kids are watching you. Kids see when their mom is like, oh, okay, I love you, baby. I love you, baby, but I have to go spend some time for myself. Today I'm going to take, mommy's going on a date by herself. You know how you go on dates with your daddy? Or you know how you do this? Mommy has to spend time by herself. Kids will remember that. Kids remember, like I remember so many things, simple things like that when I was a little kid. So be aware that your child is watching you, your little girl, your little boy, your niece, your nephew, seeing how you interact with the world. There's a literal reason why they tell you to put your mask on first when you're on the airplane. Secure your mask first, because if you're dead, you can't help somebody else. If you're giving over giving, emptying out your cup, and you have nothing left, what is left for you? Why I think it's important to practice it, it will help you feel more confident. Growing up in business, 18, 17, almost 18 years old, I learned, okay, when you're sitting in front of a client, there's certain things that they're going to ask you every time, most times. They're going to have areas that they're concerned about, whatever it is. And so we learned by practicing, writing down, observing what clients said, prospects said. And I'm like, okay, I noticed that when I talk to a mother or a couple and they're in this area or whatever, or they have this amount of money, this is usually their questions. And I learned, okay, this is what they have to say, or this is what the questions they have. And I learned how I'm going to answer it. And I made it so I was so good at it that it was like the back of my hand. I knew it. I knew what to say immediately. Like I knew how to say it. I would cater it towards that individual, but it was basically the same response. And that's what I think with boundaries you have to learn how to do, is set the boundary and learn how to communicate it so well that it's second nature. You just do it. You just say it. It's not a thing. So pretend I don't drink. You don't drink. And so when it comes to boundaries, I think there's certain steps that you do want to take. But basically you, number one, want to set the boundary. So the boundary is, because I don't drink or I'm giving up liquor, I don't go to bars anymore, because you don't want to be in that environment, right? Then the second thing is you want to make sure that you say and communicate that boundary and be direct. So, and not over explaining. So in that scenario, it would be friend hits you up. They want to go to the bar and you're like, hey, I'm not available to go to the bar tonight. I don't go to bars anymore. Or I don't, whatever your boundary is. You don't go, oh, I can because blah, 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 blah. And you start going on a tangent. No, it's assertive. It's direct. I cannot go. I will not go. I am not available to go to the bar. I do not go to bars anymore. Or it could be, you could even throw in there if you want to, I'm not drinking anymore. I'm not a drinker anymore. I don't want to be in the environment of bars. The third thing is you want to make sure you're not wishy-washy. Don't give in. You're not going to bars right now. You're not drinking. You don't want to be tempted. So no matter what they say, you may put in your brain, I am not going to this bar. You're being concrete. This teaches people that you are serious about your boundaries, because if you keep getting wishy-washy and going back and forth, they think that they can slip in there and get you to go, provoke you, or entice you to go to do whatever said thing is. The fourth thing is, be okay with communicating this boundary multiple times. Talked about this earlier, but you may have to repeat yourself. Not the same day. The same day, I mean, if somebody kept asking me, I'd just ignore them, or I'd tell them, no, I'm not available. Period. End of story. But I mean, repeat it in general. This friend might reach out again in a week or two because they're used to drinking, going to bars. They may do that. Personally, at this age, if you're older, I wouldn't do this more than 2 to 3 times, because after you've stated it and they keep doing it, it's disrespectful to me. Like, you heard me. But you may have to repeat it a few times, and especially in that type of situation, going out to bars. And the fifth thing is understanding that you're going to have to keep repeating this process over and over again. It's going to happen. Like, you're going to set new boundaries, have to communicate them. Don't expect people to know your boundary if you don't communicate it. Like, a lot of people in relationships, they're like, I have this boundary, but you didn't communicate it. You didn't tell them anything. They don't know. They can't read your mind. Men can't read your mind, ladies. They can't read your mind. You're like, oh, I don't like it when he doesn't text me. He takes a whole week to text me. Now, if you don't tell this man may just be used to women who don't care. Hey, dude, guy I'm talking to, I really like when you reach out to me a few times a week, or I like it when I talk to my significant other, the guy I'm dating, multiple times a week or every night, whatever that thing is. Tell him, give him the opportunity to do it. I feel like, yes, I'm not giving dating advice, because there are some instances where you just need to not worry about it. But if you feel like the person's worth it, or if they give you the signs that they have the right energy, the right mind, give them the opportunity. Tell them what you want so that he knows, because he might not know. So let's talk about the first boundary after the one I just mentioned as an example. A common one might be that you're at work and you don't want to be distracted right now. Maybe you're working on a good project. So your friend comes up to your desk that normally comes up to your desk, your coworker / friend. She wants to talk. Maybe she's the drama type, and you now also have decided you don't really want to talk about drama because new year, new you, whatever that thing is. Just say that you don't want to be bothered for this amount of time you're working on something. So you let the person know, hey, I'm not available today from 2 to 4 or 2 to 3 or all day long. I have an important project that I need to lock in on. That's one way to say it, assertive, direct. Another way you could say it is, hey, love, or hey, girl, hey, my love, whatever it is, however you talk to your friend, hey, friend, I love talking with you. I love hearing the tea, but right now I'm really locked in on this project and I have to focus. Please don't contact me between whatever hours or until after this time. If it's really, really important, you can call twice, because my do not disturb is usually on. It's usually on, so call it twice so I can get your call. But if it's not important, please don't contact me. This way is a little bit more longer, but at least it explains. If you need to tell her, you want to just tell her right off the bat directly that this is why you're doing it, because you know she's going to ask. It's an option. You don't have to do that. You don't owe that to people. But if you need to, that is a way you could communicate a boundary. Another way you might say is, hey, love, between the hours of this time and this time, or when this sign is up on my door, please do not approach me. Do not reach out. I'm focused in on something. Just something simple. I kind of went out of order with the levels. I feel like the first one I gave you is the first way. The one I gave you last would be like the second medium in the middle way. And then the third way is giving a little bit more information. Figure out which is more comfortable for you. But again, being short and direct, the first option is probably the best option. Another boundary that might be a little bit more popular or easier to relate to is, say you have a bedtime for 10 p.m. or 11 p.m., whatever that is. But say it's 10 p.m. for the sake of this example. Your friend wants to go to a concert. She reaches out to you, hey girl, on text maybe. She's like, hey girl, I got an event I want to go to. And you're like, oh yeah, when is it? And she's like, oh, it's tomorrow at 8 p.m. And you're like, you reach back out, oh, I can't go. I'm not available. And then she's like, oh, why girl? Why are you available? Because you're normally available. You can tell her then after that point, I have a bedtime of 10 p.m. and 8 p.m. I won't make it home, on time. That's okay to do. That's communicating. That's okay. But it also is okay to literally just say, hey, I'm not available at that time. That's another, like, some people just say okay. Some people might ask you more information. So I think in both cases, it's communicating assertively and directly, telling them you can't or you won't, you're not available. And then if they ask why, letting them know that I have a new bedtime and I'm honoring it. Nothing's coming in the way. Now, this person may reach out to you again. I mentioned this before, another time, because they're used to you going out with them to different events. You could also say, as an example, you could say, oh, next time if you have an event before this specific time, before 6 p.m., let me know. I'll be happy to go. You could also do that. That's communicating a boundary, because you're saying, okay, before this time, and then you're also giving them options. So that's another way to communicate a boundary. You could figure out how best to communicate it, I think, by discernment. You know your friends well, you know your family, the people you love well, and you can kind of decide from there. Let's say some romantic examples. Say that you have a boundary that you want to date to marry or date to be in a long-term committed relationship. You're not really playing around. So you meet a person who gives the vibe, not even necessarily saying it. They could have said it, or it's just the energy they're giving by their actions is saying that I am here for a good time, not a long time. You may decide when they reach out to you to say something like, hey, I really loved spending time with you, communicating with you, talking with you, but you said you weren't really interested in a long-term relationship, and that's what I'm looking for. So I think it's best that we part ways. Easy text or a phone call to have. You could also ghost people. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, you can do that. I just feel like if you want to be good at communicating, or if you're asking or hoping to get in a relationship that has that communication, that camaraderie where you're able to talk about things, I would expect that you would want to communicate, even if it's to a person that you don't want to be with anymore, out of respect. So if that is you, that's a way you could say something like that. And I believe when you start doing and speaking this way, things and people speak to you. You start to attract people like that, because people will feel energetically that you require and demand. I don't want to say demand it in that way, but your standards are higher, and they will see and feel that energetically and by your words. And you'll get to a point where people won't even need you to speak your boundary. They'll know, like, oh, that girl doesn't play. We don't need to play about her. And all these different boundaries are really just saying to all these people that because I respect myself, because I value myself, because I love myself, I set these boundaries. And I want and expect you to respect them too. And they'll respect them. I'm telling you, when they know, like, they could feel it, people will respect it. And the ones who aren't going to, they'll walk away. They'll scurry on like some kind of roach or mouse or whatever, rodent. They'll be gone. Bye. Bye. Let's say that your boundary is physical touch. I think this is a very important one, because there's a lot of people who overstep their boundaries, the physical boundaries. It's okay to say things like, I do not want to be touched. Please do not touch me. It's okay if somebody is going to hug you that you just say, I don't like to be hugged, give them a hand, or you could skip saying, I don't like to be hugged, and just reach out your hand firmly. This tells people you don't really like to be hugged. I think a good one for mothers, I see a lot of kids who, they want to hug their mom. They want to be all in their mom's space or their dad, and parents don't know or haven't figured out how to communicate it well. And so they're just like, get off me. But I think a good way to say is like, I'm overstimulated right now. Mommy doesn't want to be touched. I'm overstimulated right now. Please don't bother mommy right now. She'll come to you when she's ready for a hug. And then if they ask you about overstimulation, you could teach them what that means. A lot of people don't understand how smart and kids absorb information. I used to be so curious when I was a kid, asking so many questions. I would appreciate someone telling me, I don't want you to touch me right now because I'm overstimulated. This teaches a kid that it's okay to tell people you don't want to be touched. You don't want to be bothered. I don't want to speak to this person, whatever it is. So you're being an example in the process. Other things I said was, you're a little too close. I don't feel comfortable. Or my favorite, growing up in high school, I used to always say this, excuse you, that lets them know, hey, you're a little too close to me. You could literally say, like I said earlier, you're a little too close. I'd prefer if you stood back a little bit. Another one I said is, I love you so much, but I really don't want to be touched right now. This is good when you have a significant other. Maybe they like physical touch. You're not the physical touch type of person. This allows them to know, oh, it's not that you don't love them. It's that you just don't want to be touched right now. Another topic, or I'll just go through some topics, but topics can be, you don't want to talk about certain topics of conversation. Like when you're speaking, you could say, you know, I don't really feel comfortable speaking about this subject right now. I would prefer if we moved on to another subject. You could say things like, I respect your opinion, but I don't agree with you on that, and I don't really want to continue on with this conversation. You could also say, if you're in a big group, you could literally just say, oh, in your head, oh, this is going the wrong way, then I don't really care to be in this environment. You could literally just excuse yourself. Oh, excuse me, pardon me, and just get up from the table. You know, you can do those things. Those are boundaries. I don't want to be in this environment. I don't want to listen to the news at somebody's house. You can literally get up and say, I don't want to be here for that. Get up and go. That's okay. Other things I said is things like, you're making me uncomfortable. Excuse yourself in the convo. Like I said before, I don't take work calls after 6 p.m. I respect your beliefs. Please respect mine, or we're not going to be able to continue on with this conversation. I don't like where this is going in this conversation. Excuse yourself. If you're going to raise your voice at me, we can continue this conversation once you mellow out, once you simmer down, once your kettle pot right now is boiling. I'm going to need it to simmer down before we chat again. Oh, this is one that literally I had to use. But do not call me out my name. I will not respond to that. I will not answer to that. I had an ex call me out my name twice, and that was it. We broke up after that. The first time I let it slip because I thought it was the drinking. Second time, I'm good. We didn't need to go to the third time. Practice saying no. Just keep on practicing saying no. No, I'm not available. No, I can't. No, I won't. No, period. The next one I want to talk about is, and this is the last section, if you're someone who communicates the boundary or sets the boundary, but you need help communicating it better. Like you feel like when you give the boundary, it's coming off rude. And I actually mean rude. I don't mean where you think a boundary is rude, but sometimes people actually are rude in communicating boundaries. I'll use an example. Earlier this year, my friend had reached out to me that I used to talk to every single day, pretty much, or every other day. And my friend was basically venting to me about a group of people, or people that we both know. And it was not the first time we had this conversation, many of times. And honestly, that day I was feeling really, really good. I was creating. I think I made a couple videos that day, shorts, reels. Oh, it was shorts because I wasn't on Instagram then, but you know, just a good space. I went to the store. I did puzzles with my grandpa. Like, it was good. I didn't want to hear about this venting because honestly, I'd heard it many times before. And one of my boundaries I had set, because this was like the first or second week of January, was that I wasn't going to allow space for venting when it was excessive. It's different when, you know, somebody's grieving and they want to speak about something multiple times, but I did not want to have the repetition of things. And so I had made this boundary. And what ended up happening was, when this individual was like, so I can't vent to you, basically because I was kind of like not in the mood, they probably could tell. I was like, no. And again, nothing wrong with what I said, but to me, it's how I said it, because this person is used to me being a certain way. And for me to just no, I feel like it wasn't the right way to say it. Now, what I did wasn't wrong. I'm not saying it was wrong. It's just, I feel like how I conveyed it wasn't the right way. It wasn't the right way. And I know you're probably like, well, in the beginning you said it's normal just to say no. It's not about that. It's because, again, discernment. The person who I was speaking to, how I said it wasn't the right way. Now, some people on here might argue I did do it just right. That's cool for you. This individual, don't feel like that was the right way to handle it. So what I ended up doing is, later on that day, I wrote it down what I would have said. And I did reach out to this individual to try to like recommunicate what I was going to say, but they never responded when I called or text that week. And since then, I only spoke to this person, not even spoke, text. We only had 2 very short text conversations since then. And this is, I think, October. So again, boundaries. I decided in the beginning of the year, if people didn't honor my boundaries, or I wasn't going to go after people, because this person, I have been the one who usually reaches out to try to like mend things. I wasn't doing that anymore. So I did it. So we're not as close as we used to be. I guess not at all. Maybe we'll be friends again. Cool. But what I ended up doing was, I wrote down that week, the same day, I wrote down what I would have said. What I would have said to this individual is, right now, I do not have the space and capacity to hear and be there with you while you're venting, because I didn't. I was in a whole different space. I was in a good mood. And honestly, I thought that they were going to give me good news because they were coming from something that should have been a good experience. That's why I answered the phone in the first place. And so letting them know that I did not have the space or the capacity, but I can give you a call back later on tonight or tomorrow. Which one works better for you? That's all I had to say. It was simply, I don't have the space. I can't hold your emotion right now. I can't hold it, but I can be there for you later on today or tomorrow if that's okay with you. And that's what I think you can do. I feel is really good to do whenever you communicate a boundary, and you do it whether it's in the wrong tone or you say it wrong, or even if you say the boundary, you say it assertively, but then you fall back on it. Write it out, role play it like I said before, practice it. And the better you get, the more you practice, the better you will get at it. And I think that example is a perfect one because it could happen to anybody. You may be someone who just doesn't want to hold space for venting anymore at all. Or maybe for you, it's like, I have to hold this off for later. Speak that boundary, communicate it, and it's up to them how they're going to perceive it. But I would have given that would have been with love. Another example I can give on this, say your friend reaches out to you because they want you to babysit. You normally babysit, but you're tired today. You're exhausted. You're burnt out. She reaches out to you and you say, no, I'm not available. But then after she keeps saying, oh, why? You're like, oh, because I'm tired. She's like, oh, no, it's fine. I'm going to put the baby to sleep before I even come there so you guys can both sleep. I just need somebody to be there in the house. So you're like, oh, okay, fine, I'll do it. And then you think about it later on that night when you have the baby woke up again. It's supposed to be asleep. And so you write down later on or the next day, you reflect on it and you say, no, what I should have said is what I said in the beginning. I should have stand firm on what I originally said. No, I'm not available. That's it, period. That's what you would practice. Just saying, no, I'm not available. Simple, straightforward. That's it. It's a complete sentence. You don't have to just say no. You could say, no, I'm not available. And that's what I would say. Keep practicing saying things like, no, I'm not available. No, I'm not going to be able to do that. No, I won't do that. No, I can't do that. No, period. Say you're someone who at your job, they come up to you and they're like, hey, I would like you to take on this project. It's more responsibility. It takes more of your time. So you believe it deserves more pay, but you don't say that. You say, yes, you're yes woman. You're like, yes, I will do this for you, this job, and you take it. And then now you're resentful and you're angry and you're upset and you're hating life. Like I mentioned multiple times through this video, that's what happens when we don't set boundaries. You're pissed off. So you sit down with your paper and you say, you know what? This is what I would have said, and this is what I'm going to say going forward. There's a few ways you could do this. I'm not like a what do they call them? The job coaches who teach you like how to get raises and things like that, and basically to do what men do. Men have the audacity to go into interviews and go to places and apply for jobs that they're not qualified for based on the eligibility. And they go in there and they still apply for it. And some of them get the job. Women need to have the audacity to do the same thing because you're very much capable of doing that. So definitely watch those type of videos or read about them online when it comes to job hunting and interviews and all that stuff. But simply saying something like, hey, I'm so glad that you're considering me for this extra responsibility. I would like to set up a time so that we could review what the responsibilities are so I could see if I'm a good fit for it. That's simple, because then you could figure out what it is, what's going on, make sure it's something that you want to do. And also at that time, you could also bring up that, hey, I'm obviously valuable to you. You want me to take on this responsibility. I have these, whatever those qualities and benefits are, showcase those things, and then ask for a raise. So that's an example of how you can take something that already happened and reapply it to something that already happened so that you can do better going forward. Or in this case, you could technically go backwards, because you could just go to your manager and say, hey, I didn't really get a chance to look at all that was involved, but based on this, what I'm doing, I feel like this is a job that requires more pay, a better position. You wouldn't say it in that way. You need to look at a video on a job interview, raise, coaching, however you put it, those people who speak on that, or ask GPT, something like that. But figure that out. And honestly, truly, I bet you there's a whole bunch of people who get raises from that. Because like if they're not going to pay you more for the work, that's crazy. I think in the majority of cases they will. They just take advantage of people, because if you are allowing people to walk all over you, they will walk all over you. Because if they don't have to pay you more, they're not going to. But if you ask for it, there are plenty of people who will give you more money. Plenty. Don't think that there's not plenty of people who will give you a raise or pay you more for your work. They just know that they can take advantage of you, so they don't. It's like free work. They're getting more for less pay. they're getting more from you for less paying you less, paying you less. So be aware of that. Yeah, so I think that's all I have to say when it comes to boundaries. I do recommend keeping a notebook, a commonplace journal, or maybe a space, stickies, a space within your planner, or in simply on your phone in the notepad to keep track of these type of things. Because the more that you are aware and you take note of what you want, what you're setting, whatever your intentions are, the more that you'll get better at doing that thing. And that includes boundaries, detachment. And this is important going into the new year. Especially if this is a goal, boundaries are a goal, I would recommend, and I'm going to talk about this probably in the next upcoming weeks, but I would recommend you start now. Don't start on January 1st. Start now. Start implementing these steps as you're going into the new year. And I promise you, once January 1st hits, you will already start to be a new person because of it. Boundaries really have changed my life. I can't tell you in how many ways. I've literally, there's people who I'm no longer speaking to or cool with, not because I hate them, I have no ill will towards them, but because of setting boundaries, I learned that who this person was, and I learned who I was in the process. So be aware of those things. Keep on setting boundaries. Keep on learning, practicing, repeating, communicating. Get good at it. And life is going to be so good. It's going to be great. And I'm so grateful that you are here with me, especially if you stayed this long. I know this is my first video back in a long while, in months. I think my last video was in May. I will be back next week. So I'll see you there with all my love. Lana.